Beyond the Gates, April 9 spoilers. Eva and Izaiah's relationship is crumbling and I have thoughts. Hey. Oh hey. Oh hey. Welcome back to the channel. If you're here, you already know what time it is. It's Beyond the Gates breakdown time. And oh my goodness, do we have a lot to talk about today. April 9th's episode is packed. And I mean packed with drama, emotional gut punches, and some storylines that honestly have me sitting here at my desk just shaking my head going, how did we get here? But also, I am absolutely living for this. So grab your snack, get comfortable, and let's dive deep into what is shaping up to be one of the most emotionally loaded episodes of this season. We're talking relationship turbulence for Eva and Izaiah. Naomi needing serious emotional support. Smitty going full rogue agent. And Samantha, sweet, brave Samantha lashing out after a rejection that honestly broke my heart a little. There is so much to unpack here, so let's not waste another second. Eva and Izaiah, the mama drama finally boils over. Okay, let's start with the big one. Eva and Izaiah. If you've been following this relationship from the beginning, you know, these two have had their little bumps and friction points here and there. Nothing catastrophic, just the usual, we're figuring each other out kind of friction. But this April 9th episode, this is different. This hits different because this time the roadblock isn't just between the two of them. It's coming from the outside, and it is hitting hard. Let's rewind just a little bit. Eva played brilliantly by Amber Michelle. By the way, had been building up to this lunch with Darlene, Izaiah's mother. And if you've been watching this show, you already know that Darlene is not someone you just casually impress over salads and small talk. This woman has opinions. She has history. And she has standards that feel like they were carved out of solid granite. Monique Moussi plays Darlene with such a specific kind of energy, warm on the surface, but sharp underneath. And you always feel like you're being tested, even when she's smiling at you. Now, here's the thing that I think is crucial for understanding why this lunch was always going to be a disaster. Darlene already had a narrative in her head about Eva before they even sat down at the table. Because of what Eva's family, Eva and her mom, did to the Duprees when they first arrived in Fairmont Crest. Darlene is walking into this meal with receipts. She's not a blank slate. She's a woman who loves her son fiercely and remembers the past just as fiercely. That is a brutal combination when you're the person trying to win her over. And Eva is trying so hard. You can feel the desperation underneath her composure, the need to be seen as someone worthy of Izaiah. Someone who has grown beyond her past mistakes. That vulnerability is actually one of my favorite things about her character arc this season. She's genuinely trying to be better. But here's where I start to have some real feelings about Izaiah's role in all of this. Because let me say something that I think a lot of fans have been dancing around but not quite saying directly. Izaiah is not doing enough. And I will stand on that. This man keeps downplaying things. He keeps minimizing the chaos that surrounds them, whether it's his mother's deeply held resentments or Leslie's absolute talent for walking into a room and setting it on fire. And speaking of Leslie, Leslie crashing that lunch, played by Trisha Mann Grant. That was the kind of catastrophic timing that you almost can't believe isn't scripted specifically to torture Eva. But here's my theory about why Izaiah keeps minimizing. I think he genuinely doesn't know how to hold space for conflict involving the people he loves. He wants peace. He wants everyone to just get along. And that desire, while it comes from a good place emotionally, translates into a kind of emotional avoidance that is genuinely damaging to his relationship with Eva. When Leslie causes chaos and Izaiah essentially brushes it off, he is, whether he means to or not, telling Eva that her feelings about Leslie's behavior are an overreaction. That is not okay. Full stop. And now Darlene walks out of the lunch early. That's not just an awkward social moment. That is a signal. That is Darlene communicating in the clearest possible way that she is not sold on Eva, and that her discomfort was so significant that she couldn't even stay at the table. Eva must have felt that like a knife. Here's what I keep coming back to, though. And this is the part that actually gives me hope for this couple. Izaiah has been in this exact situation before. His mother did not like Naomi when Naomi first came into Jacob's life. Like, Darlene was not having it. And now Naomi is someone Darlene actively supports and leans on. That development didn't happen overnight, but it happened. And the fact that Izaiah hasn't thought to share that piece of history with Eva to give her some comfort and perspective, that feels like such a missed opportunity. And honestly, a little bit frustrating. Come on. Man, use your context. Use your emotional intelligence. Your girlfriend is drowning a little here. I genuinely believe that if Izaiah sat Eva down and said, look, my mom didn't like Naomi either, and look at them now, it would change something in Eva's perspective. It wouldn't fix everything, but it would make her feel less alone in this, less like a failure, less like the odds are permanently stacked against her. But Izaiah keeps choosing comfort over honesty. And I worry that pattern is going to cost him Naomi and Darlene, an unexpected lifeline. Now, here's the beautiful irony of this whole situation. While Darlene is making Eva's life harder, she's simultaneously being a source of genuine comfort and support for Naomi. And I love this narrative choice because it shows us the full complexity of who Darlene is. She's not a villain. She's not a one-dimensional obstacle. She's a mother who loves her children and shows up for her family with her whole chest. She just also happens to have a very specific protective energy when it comes to who enters that family circle. Naomi, the wonderful Ariel Prepatita, is going through it right now. Jacob's undercover operation has completely upended their lives. And the separation is taking a real emotional toll on her. Think about what Naomi is living with. Her husband has essentially had to become someone else, moved out of their home, and she had to spend their anniversary alone. That is genuinely painful in a way that goes beyond just missing someone. It's about the life they had built together feeling suddenly fragile and uncertain. And the anniversary piece really gets me. There's something so specifically gut-wrenching about an anniversary apart, because anniversaries are supposed to be this celebration of the relationship, this annual affirmation that you chose each other and you're still choosing each other. When that gets taken away, even for good reasons, even for reasons you understand intellectually, the emotional loss is very real. Naomi is dealing with the cognitive dissonance of knowing why Jacob is doing this while also grieving what it's costing them. So the fact that Darlene steps up as a source of support here, that is beautiful storytelling. It's telling us that family is sometimes the anchor when everything else is shifting. And it adds another layer to Darlene as a character. She's not just a gatekeeper, she's a matriarch in the fullest sense of the word. Smitty crosses the line, the rogue agent we didn't know we needed. Okay, what can we talk about Smitty for a second? Because Mike Manning has been building something really interesting with this character over the last few episodes. And I feel like we're finally at the moment where all of that restless energy is going to explode into something we can't ignore. Smitty has clearly been feeling sidelined in this plasma ring investigation. He's watching Jacob go deep undercover. He's watching this whole operation unfold. And he's standing on the periphery doing support work while the real action is happening without him. And for a guy like Smitty, who clearly has that alpha agent drive, that sitting on the bench feeling must be absolutely maddening. So what does he do? He goes rogue. He cases the hospital to try to identify Grayson's female contact, the mystery I figure who Jacob believes is a mid-level force in the criminal organization. And I have to say, strategically speaking, Smitty's instinct here is actually solid. If you can identify who this woman is, you potentially have a new angle into the entire operation. A new lever to pull. The logic is sound, but here's the thing about going rogue in an undercover operation. The rules aren't arbitrary. They exist because one unexpected variable can compromise months of careful work, and Smitty, in his drive to be useful, to be in the action, ends up having to commit a crime to get the job done, and now he has to sit with that. The guilt is coming, and I think it's going to be fascinating to watch, because Smitty seems like exactly the kind of character who carries guilt in a very specific, internalized way. He probably won't even tell Jacob immediately. He'll try to manage it alone, which will make everything worse. And then there's Grayson Jordi Villasuso playing this maddening criminal informant who just won't open up. I find Grayson genuinely compelling as a character because there's clearly something going on beneath the surface. People don't stonewall this persistently unless they are either deeply afraid of something or deeply loyal to someone. My current theory, Grayson knows something that directly implicates someone close to him, and giving up that information feels like a betrayal he's not ready to make. That would explain the wall. That would explain why Jacob's frustration keeps mounting, because no amount of pressure is going to move someone whose silence is about protection rather than self-interest. And then we have Elon ordering Marcel to check in on an old friend. I'm going to be honest, this feels like it could go in some very interesting directions. If this is Elon trying to quietly check on Jacob through back channels because he's worried his son is in over his head, that is a deeply human parental impulse. But it's also potentially dangerous, because any contact with Jacob's real life while he's deep in the Rashad persona could blow the whole operation. The road to disaster is very often paved with concerned parenting, Samantha and June, the rejection that hurt us all, and then there's Samantha and June. And listen, I have a soft spot for this storyline that I am not even slightly embarrassed about. Samantha inviting June to her cotillion was one of the most genuinely sweet, vulnerable moments we've seen from this character. Think about what it takes to reach out like that, to essentially say to your mother, I want you in this important moment of my life. I'm proud of you and I want you there. That is a huge emotional offering. And June said no. Now, I want to be fair to June here, because I think it's important to understand her perspective with some empathy. Her insecurities about not belonging in that environment are real. She doesn't want to be the thing that goes wrong in her daughter's big day. And in her mind, saying no is actually an act of love. She's removing herself as a potential problem. The intention behind the rejection is not malicious. It's actually quite sad when you look at it that way, because it speaks to how deeply June has internalized the idea that she doesn't measure up. But here's the thing, and this is where Samantha's lashing out. It makes complete sense to me psychologically. When you reach out with that much vulnerability and you get a no, it doesn't matter what the intention was. The emotional experience is still rejection. And Samantha, who is clearly proud of her mother and wants to publicly celebrate her, now has to process the fact that her mom won't show up for her. That stings deeply. My hope, and this is me projecting,